Hi everyone. It's been a while since I've recorded a video. I've been a little preoccupied with a newborn and raising a baby. And if I look like I haven't slept in a month or so, it's because I haven't. I just have been feeling this call or this need to share my birth story. I've had a lot of people ask me about it, and I just feel like it's so important to share, especially with girls and women my age, because I think we're all curious about birth and pregnancy, and we don't really learn much about it other than what we see in the movies. And it's something that I became really, really passionate about during my pregnancy. And thanks to my dear friend Cindis, she gave me so many resources, and I was like deep diving into everything related to labor and how to have an unmedicated birth or a pain-free birth. Um, and I've learned so much. There are so many resources out there. One of my favorite resources was called Down to Birth, and actually, so this is one of the main people or the main reasons that pushed me to pursue or to attempt giving birth without an epidural, without medication. So I really am so grateful for her. Cindy, if you're watching this, I'm so grateful for you. Yeah, there's many reasons why I wanted to have an unmedicated birth. I won't talk about all of them in this video because we'll be here all day. So I'll just talk about the birth and what happened. It's a crazy roller coaster. I basically spent not 9 months. The first few months were terrible. And I won't talk about my pregnancy because that could be another video in itself. I'm doing this one specifically because I've been asked about it by friends and family and people really like close to me, people on Instagram. They're just curious, which is understandable. Like I was so interested in learning so much about birth and delivery. So I wanted to do a unmedicated, natural, all birth is natural, but unmedicated, minimal intervention birth. That means I didn't want any additional things added to my birth. I didn't want too many checks, cervical checks. I didn't want people like asking me questions while I was in labor. I just wanted to do it naturally or physiologically. That's actually the better word, physiological birth. I'll put a little description of what a physiological birth is. Yeah, so we'll get into it. All right, where to start? So there's so much to talk about. First of all, my due date was May 17th, and babies come whenever they want. I did not expect to give birth on my due date. And my mom and my sister were coming. I'm here in Vancouver currently. If you didn't know, now you know. I'm in Vancouver. My mom and my sister in Kuwait. And they were coming all the way from Kuwait to be here for the birth. And their flight was on the 14th. And we were just like, oh my God, like, what if she comes early? Like, she can come any time past 37 weeks. And at that point, my due date is 40 weeks. So yeah, they arrived just in the nick of time. They arrived on the 14th. They had a whole crazy thing with their flight. They ended up Ubering from Seattle all the way to Vancouver, which is crazy. I mean, it's only like a 2 hour and 45-minute drive, but still, like, their flights were like delayed and missed and blah, blah, blah. So they arrived on the 14th at 7 p.m. And lo and behold, the very next day, my water broke. Okay, first of all, the night before, my mom was like, I want your, like, come on, let your water break. Let's just get this process going. And I was like, no, I don't want my water to break first because believe it or not, your water breaking doesn't mean birth immediately. That's what the movies tells you.
I think my water just broke.
think we can make it to the hospital?
I don't think so. It's coming. Okay, everybody in the house.
Angie, I think your water broke.
Wait, what?
Your water is breaking. I gotta get a bus to take me to the hospital. Let me drive you. I'll drive you.
Okay, hold on. I'm not due for...
Ah! Come on, it feels like I'm shitting a knife.
Okay.
Why won't you bitches help me?
It's like, oh, my water broke. Oh my God, he's coming or it's coming. And it's like, no, that is definitely not what happens. It's a process. If you haven't had contractions, if you weren't in labor before your water breaks or your membrane ruptures, it doesn't mean that you're just going to give birth right then and there. So it was something that I didn't want, especially wanting a physiological unmedicated birth, because when you're the premature rupture of the membranes, or when your water breaks before you're in labor, you are more at risk of infection the longer you wait. So that was like a shock. I was basically in the room, and the night before I was having back pain, and I was on the ball and doing movements. And we were like getting ready to go to the grocery store. It was just a regular day. We're all dressed. We're all ready to walk out the door. And I was like, just give me a second. My back is just killing me right now. And I got into like a puppy pose, and I felt pressure down there. And I was like, what is this pressure? Like, this is kind of weird. Maybe I need to go to the bathroom. And just as I was about to get up, I was like going to say, I think my water is going to break. And as I was saying that, my water broke, and it was like the movies. It was like a pop, and then water just like running down my leg. And I was like, oh my God, my water broke. Actually, I was way more chill. I was like, my water broke, guys. And everyone was like, what? Oh my God. Like, we were kind of like, oh, what do we do now? So I go to the toilet because, like, water leaking everywhere. And I was on my mom and sister's bed. So then it was on their bed. I know, TMI, but this whole thing is going to be TMI. Okay. So if you're a little squeamish, don't watch the video. So I'm in the bathroom on the toilet. My husband's on the phone with our care providers, and he's like, my wife's water broke. And then they ask you a bunch of questions about it, and it needs to be clear with no smell. And what else? A few other things that I can't remember right now because my brain is not functioning completely. But yeah, they asked me all these questions, and like, was it a little bit of water? Was it a lot? And so I answered all the questions. It was clear. There was no color. I was feeling fine. So yeah, they gave me my options. They were like, okay, you can be induced, which is something that I did not want. Or like, let's just wait. If you want to wait like 12 hours and we will check you, instead of, it was like 11 a.m. at that point. They were like, we'll check you instead of 11 p.m. Come to the hospital at 8 p.m. and we'll check you and baby's heart and make sure everything's okay, no fever. Because as I said, ruptured membrane or broken water, you're more at risk of having an infection.
My water broke.
So yeah, we just went about our day. They were like, just do what you gotta do. If labor starts, great. If it doesn't, then we'll see what's next. So we went about our day, went to the grocery store. I had like mild contractions here and there, like little ones, nothing too, not consistent, not strong enough. Fast forward, I nap, I walked, I did everything to induce labor naturally. Like, you can do curb walking, which is when you like step one foot on the curb, and tried everything. Anyway, 8 p.m. rolls around and we go to the hospital to check. I was not in labor yet. I just had like a few contractions, so I knew what they felt like. And if you're wondering what they feel like, it's like period pain, kind of, that comes and goes at that point. Very bearable. Yeah, and then they checked, everything seemed fine, and they were like, okay, here's the plan. Like, you can wait. Like, usually you can wait up to 24 hours, or you can be induced right now. And the reason I don't or I didn't want an induction is because they use something called Pitocin, or as they call it, oxytocin. It's actually not oxytocin. Oxytocin is what your body produces naturally. It's like the happy hormone, and it's produced naturally when you go into labor. So that I didn't want Pitocin, which is the synthetic version. It tricks your body into thinking that it's in labor, but it also can lead to very intense contractions. And yeah, it's crazy. Like I've heard a lot about Pitocin. Also, I'll put in the resources things about Pitocin because I can't go into that too much and my opinions on it because this video will be like 100 hours long. But yeah, I really didn't want Pitocin and they kept calling it oxytocin and I kept calling it Pitocin. I'm like, when can I hold off? Like when do, I don't want to take the Pitocin. How long can I hold off? And they'd be like, the oxytocin. And I know that it's not oxytocin. That's what my body would produce. Anyway, yeah, I got a little sidetracked. So yeah, they told me, the midwife that was on call was like, you can be induced right now at 8 p.m. and like you can basically give birth like anywhere from now until it could take like 2 days, it could take a few hours. And I was like, I just it didn't feel right to me. Like it didn't feel right in my body. In my gut, I was like, And so I like discussed with my mom, my sister, my husband. They're kind of like my team. And I was like, guys, I don't think I want to do this. Like, I want to go into labor naturally. And then there's all this research about how long you can wait and what are the percentages of people going into labor at what period of time. So it's like with increased time, the percentage of women who go into labor is higher. So I was like, I think I want to wait. They were like, okay. I was texting my doula. I'm like, I want to wait. And she's like, it's up to you. She sent me a bunch of resources. I was like reading. I'm like, what are the risks? Like, obviously you're so scared because it's your baby and it's you, and you don't want to put yourself or your child at risk to be infected and have more complications. So everything was fine at the hospital. Heartbeat, blood pressure, everything was good. Baby wasn't stressed. Oh yeah, and basically when they check for the color in the water, it's because they want to make sure that the baby hasn't pooped. Because if they do while they're inside, that means they're under stress. So yeah, so there was no color in the fluid, nothing. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sleep on it. Try to go into labor tomorrow. Get to that 24-hour mark, and then see. So we go home. We decided we're gonna wait, and then in the middle of the night, I started getting contractions again. Oh, the day before I had woken up so early, and then the next day I woke up so early as well because of the contractions, and they were like starting, and I was like getting so excited, and I was like I started tracking them because it was like every you're supposed to come in to the hospital when your contractions are like every here in Canada, I think 1 minute apart. They last for a minute long, and that's been going on for an hour. And so I was like, let me like track them on my little app and see. And they were like so not consistent. But they were getting intense. I was having to breathe through them. And also I had done a lot of research on breathing techniques, like how to breathe through contractions and also how to breathe when you're pushing. Like I've gone deep into it, and I'll also link those videos because I felt like that helped me a lot. Yeah, so I woke up, I'm like, oh my god, I have some contractions, excited. And so my mom woke up, my sister, everyone woke up because they're also jet lagged, and they're like, okay, let's go for a walk, let's get labor moving. So I was like, all right, let's go. We put on our little outfits and we decided to go for a walk. So we walked for like over an hour, and it was so tiring. Like, keep in mind, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm full term by that point. And it's at this point the 16th. And I was like, come on, this baby's coming today. Let's do it. One day before her due date. Oh my God. So we walked, and still, like, the contractions would come and then they would go, and they were not consistent still. And I'm like, ugh. I was starting to get so frustrated because I was trying so hard to just go into labor naturally. I was trying all the things. I was eating dates. I was drinking the teas. I was doing all the things, the stretches that they tell you to get into. There's like a labor circuit or things to like get you labor moving faster. I was trying to relax. And still nothing happened. So they called me at the 24-hour mark to come in and get checked again. So I go in and I get checked. And this time the midwife that was on call I wasn't a fan of her. She was very pessimistic. She gave me only the negatives of what can happen if I waited longer. And she was basically saying, like, you can get induced right now. And I was like, I still didn't feel like I wanted to. I still felt like I could push through a little bit longer. But I was so confused at this point, and I was so scared of making the wrong decision. So I asked my family again, and my husband and my mom's sister, and they were like, it's up to you. You have to make the decision. And it's like, it's so scary because this is your baby's life. Like, you're like, holy shit, what if I choose the wrong thing? Again, talking to my doula, I'm like, oh, what do I do? She's like, I can't tell you what to do. Literally, I felt so alone, and I really had to depend on myself and trust myself in this moment. Not alone, like that they weren't there for me, just in my decision, because it's such a hard one. So yeah, again, she was like, you can get induced right now. And then I was like, well, what if I want to wait a little bit more? Because based on what I read, 48 hours, more people or more women go into labor at the 48-hour mark than at the 24-hour mark. So she was like, yeah, like you can wait. And I was like, what if I want to like book an induction for, let's say, 8 p.m. tonight? And if labor doesn't start from now, which was 11 a.m. because it had been 24 hours, to 8 p.m., I'll just come in and just do the induction, even though I was so unhappy with that. She was like, well, you can't really book it because, like, if there's someone that's a higher emergency than you, they could take your place or something. And it just felt so negative. Like, we left there feeling so negative and disheartened. Like, I was so bummed and I was so frustrated. And that's not what you're supposed to be in this moment to get labor going. You're supposed to be relaxed and zen and chill. So anyway, we went home and I was still trying all the things. I was curb walking. I was so tired. I was like doing the most to go into labor. Yeah, and my husband's there supporting me, my mom. And then I was like, you know what? I need to take a nap. I need to rest because, like, if I go into labor, I need energy to deliver the baby. So yeah, we came home, rested, ate, all that stuff, and I was like, okay. I was in such a bad mood. I was like, I just want to chill out. Because it was looking like I was going to have to be induced at 8 p.m. on the 16th. Anyway, before going, like, 8 p.m. starts rolling around, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a shower and just like be fresh for delivering possibly tonight. So I go and I take a shower, and then I start like feeling contractions again. Like, they didn't completely stop at any point. They were just like slowing down, and they were not very consistent. They were like 10 minutes apart or 30 minutes apart. Like, they were never, I mean, they got to like 5 minutes apart, and they got to like 3 minutes apart, but not consistently, especially when I was curb walking. Like, that was major. Like, they were getting so close. But then once I stopped that, they kind of like slow down. So frustration. And if you don't know what contractions are, I'm not going to explain it again, but basically that is your uterus like contracting, um, sending the signal to your baby that, okay, it's time to come out into the world, positioning your baby correctly into your pelvis so you can push the baby out. Uh, yeah, took a shower and then I was like, I still don't feel right about this. And I have a call with my doula and I talked to her and I'm like, I don't feel right about this. I don't want to do an induction and it's already like 8 p.m. and I'm so tired and I just don't feel like I could give my best and my fullest. Like I hated going into the hospital because I felt like every time I went in, I would be disheartened. So she was like, look, um, I sent you the resources and you'll see that 48 hours to 72 hours, 90% of women go into labor. So if you wait, and if you're feeling good, you have no fever, no color in your fluids, then you should be fine. But again, it's up to you. It's your baby and your life, and you have to make the decision. So I was like, okay, in my gut, I don't feel like I should go. And she said, listen, call the midwife on call. I was Emma, and she will like just talk to her. She's amazing. So I call her and I'm like, hi, Emma. Like she would have been the midwife to deliver my baby. I was like, this is Imani. And she's like, oh, hi, Imani. Oh, you're supposed to be coming in. And I was like, yeah, but like I've been thinking about it and I've been doing my research and I just feel like I'm too tired to come in tonight. And I think I want to wait. I want to push it a little bit more. I want to try to go into labor naturally. And she was like, oh, yeah, totally. Like, that's totally understandable. You want to rest. And if, like, all those parameters that I've mentioned before a million times, if they're all good and you're all good, then you definitely can rest, eat a meal, take Grovel, which is like this motion sickness medicine, and it'll help you sleep because you're going to need the rest. And yeah, just to check in tomorrow. And she was like, yeah, 48 to 72% of women, oh, sorry, I mean, 90% of women go into labor naturally at the 48-hour/72-hour mark. And I was like, oh my God, okay, then that's it. I'm like, that's my decision. She made it so easy. I felt so optimistic and so like positive about that. And I told my mom, my sister, my husband, and they were like, all right. And we were all feeling good because she was the most like positive person that we had spoken to. And she gave us like the best information. Like she gave us the pros and cons of waiting and like left the decision up to me. But we just felt good after that. And after that happened, I swear to God, my contractions started coming back. We went to the store. We walked to the store to go get Grovel, which she suggested so I could sleep. And yeah, the contractions were coming in stronger and I would have to like stop and breathe through them. And it was like it felt like it was happening and I was like, oh my God, like just my mindset shift kind of helped me to get more into labor. And the 48-hour mark would have been the 17th at 11 a.m. So we all went to bed, we all rested. Again, I woke up very early in the morning with contractions. Again, they were getting closer and I was getting excited. And then the hospital called me and they're like, so like, how are you feeling? It's been almost 48 hours. You're going to have to come in for a check and to see if the baby's good and you're good. I know, so many checks, so many things. Stay with me, bear with me. I think this is going to be one video and then I'll do another video for the actual birth because this is going to be really long. So yeah, they call me. They're like, you're going to have to come in for a check at 11. And like, we'll see how things are. And I was like, all right. And I was like, actually, I think if things don't progress from now, and it was like, I think like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or something until 11, then I will go for the induction. Or at that point, it's called an augmentation. So I told her about my contractions and that they were 5 minutes apart. And she was like, you know, they're still not close enough for us to admit you into the hospital that you're in labor, or active labor. So I was like, okay, fine. Like, if you can give me till like 11 a.m., I'm going to try a little bit more to push through, and I will call you at that point and see where I'm at. I ate some breakfast, went downstairs, did some more curb walking. I was getting so upset, and my husband was amazing. He was like, you can do this. Like, come on, you got this. And like, he was amazing in those moments. Whew, get emotional when I talk about this. Anyway, the curb walking, I think I did it for like another 30 minutes. And it doesn't seem like that long, but when you're that pregnant and like kind of in labor, it's very tiring. And I was like, okay, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I'm so tired, and I don't want to risk the infection. So I went upstairs, I called them, and I told them I'm just going to shower because I was sweating. I was sweating so much while curb walking. I said, I'm going to shower, and then I'm going to come in and let's just do the induction or the augmentation. So we drive to the hospital. We get there. They check me in or admit me. I'm in the waiting room, and you know, I was just feeling so kind of defeated. Like, I really wanted to do this on my own, but it felt like time was ticking, and I didn't want to risk it. So they were like, okay, like the OB will come in and talk to you, and we're gonna get this going, because the Pitocin is like a medication in a way, and we're gonna get this ball rolling. If you want to eat a little bit, you should eat now, and then we'll start the process. We'll get you upstairs. The room will be ready soon, and yeah, we'll start the process of going to labor. And I was like, oh, I was like nervous. I was more nervous about the Pitocin than if I was just to do it on my own. But yeah, I ate and I waited, and then we moved upstairs. And I'll stop it there for the labor video, because this is already, how long is this video? Like 30, 40 minutes? Oh my God, I'm gonna edit this video. But that is the story of my labor. So this is a part 1, and then I will talk about the birth in part 2. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something from this so far. And stay tuned for part 2. We'll go into the delivery and the craziness and how I did it or didn't do it. Do we know? I don't know. This is part 1, and then we'll go into part 2, and I'll talk about the delivery.